Do you feel like whatever you do is never quite good enough? And do you hate making mistakes or not being the best at something? And do you tend to procrastinate on the things that you actually want to do because your standards are so high?
Yeah.
So I'm going to cover all of those things in today's video on perfectionism. So keep watching. Hi everyone, it's Angela and a big welcome to my third YouTube video. So today's video is all about perfectionism. So what is perfectionism? According to the American Psychological Association, perfectionism is the tendency to demand of others and of oneself an extremely high or even flawless level of performance in excess of what is required of the situation. It is often associated with depression, anxiety, eating disorders, and other mental health problems. Yikes. So perfectionism is a broad trait or personality style, and it tends to come in a spectrum. So there is a healthy amount of perfectionism traits. This is where someone is very driven, they set challenges and they try to overcome them. And they will probably do that extra step in order to achieve something compared to most people. However, their self-worth isn't attached to the things that they achieve. And they're okay with putting themselves out there and accept that failure is something that is not an attack at their core identity. However, at a certain point of the scale, perfectionism can become maladaptive or pathological. And these are our neurotic perfectionists. And this is when someone is so hung up on this unrealistic standard that they've set for themselves that they are terrified of making mistakes. So they either end up doing something that is completely not required for the situation, or they won't even start because they know it won't be perfect. And perfectionism at this point becomes paralyzing, and you might not ever start or finish a project that you want to do because you know it will never be good enough. And a quote that I love from Elizabeth Gilbert, Ultimate Queen, is that perfectionism is fear in high-heeled shoes. And this is a big one for women because sometimes that we like to signal our perfectionism as a virtue, and some of us might even feel special that we're perfectionists because we believe we have higher standards compared to everyone else. And it's also that humble brag that people do in job interviews where when you're asked what is your biggest weakness,
I'm just a perfectionist.
There are many reasons why these perfectionism tendencies tend to develop, and a lot of it can stem from early childhood. Some of the reasons are perhaps your parents were perfectionists. Perhaps people around you had really high standards of you. Maybe you felt like your teachers or friends validated you because of the things you achieved or the way that you looked rather than the person that you are. And fundamentally, neurotic perfectionism is driven from a place of low self-esteem, feeling of unworthiness, and a fear of abandonment. And we use perfectionism as a shield, a defense mechanism to protect us from shame, fear, and judgment. And what worsens this problem is social comparison. And nowadays on social media, we're constantly being exposed to other people's best versions of themselves, the versions of themselves that they want us to see, their best outfits, their best holidays, or their best work. And we are comparing our behind the scenes to their final product. This can be very damaging to our self-esteems, and that might make us hold on to our perfectionism even tighter. And this rigid mindset not only affects our own well-being, but it will affect our relationships with other people. Because we're so critical of ourselves, we tend to be critical of other people too. We might not voice it, but perfectionism can fool us into thinking that perhaps we are better than other people. We might feel like other people just can't do things as well as we can. And we might be disappointed by other people or get jealous of others quite easily. Because these tendencies are driven from a place of insecurity, we might see other people who are doing better than us as competition and as a reminder of our own inadequacies, rather than having them as an inspiration to work towards. Remember, just because there's more for other people, that does not mean there's less for you. So how do we live with this neurotic perfectionism? So you can either crush it, chuck it out of a window, or punch it in the face. So my first tip is that you need to start doing things that you are not good at. So don't be afraid of letting other people see your vulnerabilities and weaknesses. Enjoy being bad at something. Try something new, and remember, the worse you are at something, the braver you are for showing up. And this is gonna be hella uncomfortable for our fellow perfectionists. But remember, the secret to growth is that you need to consistently step out of your comfort zones, and you need to fail a lot. And if you're not failing, you're probably not trying hard enough. My second tip, and that is the 80% rule. If you are 80% happy with something, then you need to stop there. and move on. Move on with your day and do something else. Remember, done is better than perfect, and progress over perfection. Like this YouTube video, if I waited until I was 100% happy with the video, it would never happen. I would have never released it. In fact, I would have never recorded it in the first place because the thought of recording a perfect video would have been way too overwhelming. And there are enough half-done, unfinished projects in this world. And my next tip is that you need to focus on the journey, not the destination. And this is our classic old saying that I really believe is true. We need to consistently put in the effort and just find joy in the process of doing so. All you can do is enjoy each day as it comes because time waits for no one. My next tip is that you need to practice self-compassion and challenge inner critics. I made an entire video on this, so I'm not going to say any more on it, so please check that video out. And my last tip is very important, and that is we need to start to learn how to compare ourselves to other people in a healthy way. And I know the old saying that comparison is a thief of joy, and I definitely agree with that statement. However, I do think it is quite a natural human tendency to compare ourselves to other people. I do think there is a healthy way of doing so. There's quite a lot I want to say on the subject, so I think I'm going to make a whole video on this next. Remember, if you feel like your perfectionism tendencies are at the point where it's maladaptive or pathological, or you feel like you might have an underlying psychiatric condition like OCD or an eating disorder, then please seek medical help. Go seek out a doctor and get a therapist and discuss the treatment options there are for you. And there are always options available like medication and various types of therapy, including CBT. Don't lose hope and have the courage to seek help. It's all about having a balance at the end of the day, and having some healthy perfectionism traits can be a good thing. I do believe that everyone should try and aim high, set goals and try and achieve them. However, that shouldn't come at a cost of our self-esteem and our own well-being. So this is everything from me today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel and click on the bell notification thingy. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye!